Come on, she's got nothing, James Whittaker sneered, his laugh echoing through the Atlanta courtroom as Lena Carter stepped forward, her eyes steady but unreadable. He leaned back smug, certain she'd leave this divorce empty-handed. She's done for. Beside him, his mistress, Chloe, smirked, her red lipstick sharp as a blade. The room buzzed with irony. This trial was ending a marriage built on lies and venom. Yet, James thought he'd won. Lena, betrayed and underestimated, stood poised, her silence louder than his taunts. But when the judge's gavel fell and the verdict rang out, James's grin vanished, his world crumbling under a truth he never saw coming. What price would he pay for his arrogance? Stay with us to unravel Lena's secret, a tale of betrayal, revenge, and redemption. Subscribe to catch every twist and drop a comment. Where are you listening from? What time is it? And what's your guess for this story's end? Don't miss the shock that awaits. The bass of Outcasts, so fresh, so clean, thumped through Neon Pulse, Atlanta's hottest nightclub, with the city's elite swirled champagne under chandeliers that glittered like diamonds. Lena Carter stood at the edge of the crowd, her black dress clinging to her frame, elegant, yet understated. She was a shadow in a room of spotlights. Her smile, practiced but brittle, her hands clasped to hide the tremble. This was James Whittaker's night, her husband's grand unveiling of his latest real estate empire. A glittering tower to cement his name among Atlanta's power players, but Lena felt like a prop, not a partner in the life they'd built. James strutted through the room, his Armani suit catching the light, shaking hands with men in Rolexes and women dripping in gold. Beside him, Chloe Bennett, his business associate, glided in a crimson gown, her laughter sharp as glass. Lena watched them, her heart sinking. Once James had held her hand at events like this, whispering dreams of their future, now he barely glanced her way, his eyes fixed on Chloe's sly smile. Lena, don't just stand there, James hissed, brushing past her to grab a drink. Mingle, don't embarrass me. His voice was cold, a blade wrapped in velvet. She nodded, swallowing the sting, and moved toward a group of investors, forcing a smile as she offered small talk. But their eyes slid past her, drawn to James' charisma and Chloe's charm. To them, Lena was invisible, a beautiful wife, nothing more. She'd given everything for James. 10 years ago, she'd shelved her law, school dreams, trading late-night study sessions for bank shifts to fund his startup. She'd sold her grandmother's ring to cover their rent when his first deal collapsed. Back then, he'd called her his rock, his queen. Now she was just there, a fixture in his penthouse, cooking his meals, pressing his shirts while he chased skyscrapers and secrets. The night wore on, the music shifting to Lil Baby's Drip Too Hard, the beat pulsing like Lena's own heartbeat. She slipped into the VIP lounge to fetch James's coat, her heels clicking on the marble floor. The room was dim, lit by neon strips that cast eerie shadows. James's phone lay on a velvet couch, buzzing with a new message. Lena hesitated, her fingers hovering. She'd never snooped before. Trust had been her vow, but something, a whisper of instinct, urged her to look. She tapped the screen. A text from an unknown number glowed. Money's wired. Get rid of Lena before she finds out. Her breath caught, a chill snaking down her spine. Find out what? Her mind raced. James's late nights, his hushed calls, the way Chloe's hand lingered on his arm. This wasn't just an affair. This was something darker, something dangerous. Lena snapped a photo of the message with her phone, her hands shaking. She heard footsteps and shoved the device back onto the couch just as Chloe sauntered in, her perfume heavy, her eyes narrowing. Lost, Lena Chloe's voice dripped with mockery. "This isn't your scene. Just getting James's coat." Lena replied, her tone steady. Despite the storm inside, she met Chloe's gaze, refusing to flinch. Chloe smirked, tossing her hair, and leaned closer. "You should know your place," Chloe whispered. "James deserves better than a housewife playing dress-up." The words cut deep, but Lena held her ground, her silence a shield. Chloe laughed, a sound like breaking glass, and strutted out. Lena clutched the coat, her mind spinning. She thought of Nia, her younger sister, killed in a car crash a decade ago. A crash tied to a shady real estate deal James had worked on. He'd sworn it was a coincidence, but the text gnawed at her. Was Nia's death more than an accident? Was James capable of more? She rejoined the party, her smile a mask. James was on stage now, microphone in hand, basking in applause. "This tower," he boomed, "is my legacy, and I couldn't have done it without my team, especially Chloe Bennett, my right hand." The crowd cheered, but Lena's stomach twisted. No mention of her, not a glance. Chloe stood beside him, radiant, while Lena faded into the shadows. "Lena," a voice called. It was Mrs. Ruth, a church elder from Hope Baptist, her silver hair glowing under the lights. She pulled Lena into a warm hug, her gospel. Strong voice, a balm. "You look tired, child. You okay?" Lena nodded, but Ruth's eyes, wise and piercing, saw through her. "God's got a plan for you. Lena, don't let no man dim your light." The words struck like a match. Lena excused herself, slipping into the humid Atlanta night. She drove their Benz through streets alive with trap beats and neon signs, the city's pulse syncing with her own. At home, she stood in their penthouse, the skyline glittering beyond the glass. James's betrayal, Chloe's venom, that chilling text. They were a wake-up call. She opened her laptop, the screen casting a blue glow on her face. Her fingers trembled as she navigated to Emory University's website, clicking on the LSAT registration. Law. School had been her dream before James, before she'd poured her soul into his ambitions. No more. If he thought she was nothing, she'd show him who she was. "I'm done being your shadow, James." She whispered, her voice steady in the dark. She hit submit, the confirmation email, pinging like a gunshot. Outside, Atlanta hummed, its rhythm urging her forward. Lena Carter was awake, and she was ready to fight. Lena Carter hunched over a battered desk in the attic of her and James's penthouse, the glow of her laptop casting shadows on the slanted walls. Outside, Atlanta's trap beats pulsed faintly, a neighbor's playlist, leaking through the night. She wore a hoodie, emblazed with hustle hard, her hair pulled into a messy bun, eyes burning from hours of LSAT prep. By day, she played the beautiful wife, smiling through James's indifference. By night, she was a warrior, forging a path he'd never suspect. The confirmation email from Emory University still lingered in her inbox. A promise, a rebellion. James had been home less since the Neon Pulse party. His absence, a cold weight. When he was there, his words were sharp, his eyes distant. "You're looking tired." "Lena," he'd said that morning, tossing his keys on the counter. "Try to keep up appearances." She'd nodded, masking the fire kindling inside. He didn't know about the LSAT, the late-night study sessions, or the text she'd seen. Get rid of Lena before she finds out. That message haunted her, a splinter in her mind, tied to Nia's death and secrets James buried deep. Lena flipped through a practice test, her pen scratching answers with fierce precision. She'd lied to James, claiming she'd joined a yoga class to cover her evening absences. The deception felt wrong. Her vows had been sacred once, but his betrayal had shattered that bond. Nia's face flashed in her mind. Her sister's bright smile from a decade ago before that car crash stole her. James had worked for the real estate firm linked to the accident, dismissing Lena's questions with a shrug. Now doubt noted at her. Was he hiding more than an affair? A notification pinged, an email from her bank job, praising her performance. Lena scoffed softly. She was good at numbers, at people, at everything James overlooked. She closed the laptop and slipped downstairs. The penthouse, silent, except for the hum of the city beyond the glass. James's briefcase sat by the door, unzipped. She hesitated, then rifled through it, finding a cryptic note. Meeting with C Midnight. Keep it off the books. C for Chloe or someone worse. Her pulse quickened, but she tucked the note back, her resolve hardening. The next day, Lena met Malik Jones at Soul Brew, a cozy cafe where Erykah Badu's voice floated over the clinking of coffee cups. Malik, her old college friend, leaned back in a leather jacket, his dreads tied loosely, a recorder tucked in his pocket. He was a journalist now, chasing stories that made powerful men sweat. You look like you're carrying the world. Lena, he said, sliding her a latte. What's up? She glanced around. The cafe's warmth, a stark contrast to the chill in her bones. James, she whispered, leaning closer. He's not just cheating. I found a text. Someone wants me gone. And Nia's death, I think he knows something. Malik's eyes narrowed, his hand pausing on his cup. Whitaker's dirty, he said, voice low. I've been digging into his real estate deals. Shady transfers, offshore accounts, ties to some heavy hitters. Maybe mafia. You're stepping into a snake pit. He pulled a USB from his jacket, sliding it across the table. This has what I've got. So far, payments, names, dates. But Lena, if you're in, you're risking everything. She took the USB, its weight heavy in her palm. I'm already risking everything, she said, her voice steady. He thinks I'm nothing. I'll show him who I am. Malik nodded, respect flickering in his gaze. I'll keep digging, but watch your back. These people don't play. That Sunday, Lena found solace at Hope Baptist, the church's gospel choir lifting her spirit. Mrs. Ruth, the elder who'd hugged her at Neon Pulse, sat beside her, her hands weathered but strong. You're fighting a battle, ain't you? Ruth said, her voice like a warm hymn. Lena nodded, tears pricking her eyes. God doesn't give you a burden you can't carry. Ruth continued, you're stronger than you know. The sermon spoke of justice, of rising from ashes. Lena clutched the USB in her purse, Ruth's words echoing, don't let no man dim your light. After service, she joined Sisters Rising, a nonprofit at the church, volunteering to help women navigate legal battles. She met Tasha, a single mother fighting an abusive ex, and taught her how to file a restraining order. Tasha's grateful tears fueled Lena's purpose. She wasn't just fighting for herself anymore. Back home, James's absence stretched longer, his calls curt. Lena noticed his phone buzzing late at night. Unanswered. She checked it once, finding another text. She's asking questions. Handle it. Her blood ran cold. Was she her? She screenshot it. Her hands steady now. The attic became her sanctuary, where she pored over Malik's files, bank records, coded emails, names linked to Atlanta's underbelly. One name stood out. Mr. V, a shadow behind James's empire. Lena's LSAT result arrived that night. 172, near perfect. A full scholarship to Emory Law awaited. She stared at the email, her heart pounding. This was her way out. Her weapon. She pulled on her black girl magic tee, standing before a mirror, cracked from a forgotten fight with James. You don't own me. She whispered, her reflection fierce. Outside, Atlanta's skyline glittered, a city of dreams and danger. Lena slipped the USB into a hidden drawer, her mind racing. James thought he could erase her, but she was building something he'd never see coming. The gospel hymns from Hope Baptist echoed in her soul, urging her forward. She wasn't just Lena Carter anymore. She was a spark, ready to ignite. Lena Carter's heart pounded as she stepped into the glass-walled office of Whitaker Properties in Buckhead. The city's pulse, a distant hum. Beyond the sleek facade, she'd come to retrieve a forgotten file. James had asked for a rare errand that pulled her from her secret LSAT prep and the USB of damning evidence Malik had given her. The office buzzed with ambition, phones ringing, assistants scurrying. But Lena felt like a ghost. Her presence barely registered. Her blazer felt stiff, a borrowed armor, but her eyes burned with purpose. She was no longer just James's wife. She was a spark, and today, she'd guard her flame. James's corner office loomed at the hall's end. Its door ajar. Lena hesitated. The memory of that text. She's asking questions. Handle it. Chilling her. She slipped inside. The scent of leather and cologne heavy. Papers littered his desk. But her eyes caught on a photo. James and Chloe laughing at a gala. Her hand on his chest. Lena's stomach twisted. But she pushed it down. Searching for the file. Her fingers brushed a folder labeled Nia 2009. Her breath hitched. Nia, her sister, was killed in that crash, tied to James's old firm. Why was her name here? Voices broke her trance. Lena ducked behind a cabinet as James and Chloe entered, their laughter sharp. She's clueless, James said, tossing his keys. Lena won't get a dime when I'm done. Chloe's heels clicked closer. Her voice low. Good. I've moved the accounts offshore. She's got nothing on us. Lena's hand slid to her phone. Hitting record. James chuckled. Once the penthouse is mine, she's out. No alimony. No mercy. Chloe's tone turned icy. She's been snooping. James, I saw her at Neon Pulse. Hovering. If she digs too deep. She stopped. Her head snapping toward the cabinet. Lena held her breath. Hair pulse deafening. What's that? Chloe hissed, stepping closer. Lena's fingers tightened on the NIA folder, her mind racing. She stepped out, clutching the file James had requested, her face a mask of calm. Just grabbing this, Lena said, her voice steady. Chloe's eyes narrowed, red lipstick curling into a sneer. Lost. Again. Lena, this isn't your world. James smirked, leaning against his desk. Don't waste my time. Lena, drop the file and go. But Chloe's gaze lingered, predatory. You're too curious for your own good, she said, her voice a blade. Stay out of things you don't understand, or you'll regret it. Lena met her stare, unflinching. I understand. Plenty, she said, and walked out, the recorded audio burning in her pocket. Her heels echoed in the hall, but her mind churned. The NIA folder. She'd glimpsed a note about accident cleanup. Was James complicit in her sister's death? The thought fueled her, but fear followed. Chloe's threat wasn't empty, and that USB from Malik tied James to something far uglier than infidelity. She drove to Soul Brew, the cafe's warmth of fleeting refuge. Erika Bed's voice soothing her nerves. Malik slid into the booth across from her, his leather jacket scuffed, eyes shadowed. You okay? He asked, sliding her a coffee. She shook her head, passing him the phone with a recording. James and Chloe are moving assets. And this, she showed him a photo of the NIA folder's note. Malik's jaw tightened. That's bad, he said, voice low. My sources say Chloe's tied to Mr. V, a mafia boss, bankrolling James's towers. They're ruthless, Lena, Nia's crash might have been a cover-up for a deal gone wrong. He leaned closer. You're in deep now. They know you're asking questions. Lena's hand shook, but she nodded. I'm not stopping. Nia deserves the truth. Malik handed her a burner phone. Use this for me. My main line's compromised. He paused, eyes softening. You're braver than most, Lena, but bravery can get you killed. She pocketed the phone. Her resolve steel. So can silence, she said. That evening, Lena volunteered at Sisters Rising, the nonprofit at Hope Baptist. The church's stained glass glowed, gospel hymns lingering from Sunday's service. She sat with Tasha, the single mother she'd helped reviewing legal papers. You're a godsend, Tasha said, tears in her eyes. Lena smiled, but her mind was elsewhere. Chloe's threat, Nia's folder, the mafia. She taught Tasha how to file for custody, each word grounding her. Purpose, driving home. Lena noticed the black SUV tailing her, its headlights flaring in her rear view. Her heart raced, Malik's warning echoing. They don't play. She swerved through Atlanta streets. The city's trap beats a frantic pulse. The SUV followed, closing in. Panic surged, but she spotted a 24-hour bodega. Its neon sign, a beacon. She parked, darted inside, and hid behind a shelf, watching the SUV cruise past. Her breath steadied, but fear lingered in the attic. Lena opened her laptop, the glow illuminating her black girl magic tea. She uploaded the recording to a secure drive. Here, finger steady. Carter Justice Solutions was live now, a fledgling legal consultancy under her alias L Justice. A message popped up, a woman needing help with a divorce. Lena typed a reply. Her purpose, clear. James thought she was nothing, but she was building an empire in the shadows. She glanced at the burner. Phoned, Malik's number glowing. Outside, Atlanta's skyline shimmered. A city of secrets. Lena whispered, I'm coming for you, James. Her voice a vow, the gospel. Hymns from Hope Baptist echoed in her soul. A reminder she was no longer prey. She was the hunter now. Lena Carter stood in the sanctuary of Hope Baptist, the morning light filtering through stained glass, casting jewel-like patterns on her blazer. The gospel, choir's rehearsal lingered in the air. A faint echo of, oh, happy day, that steadied her racing heart. Last night's chase, the black SUV's headlights, searing her rear view, still haunted her, but she refused to cower. James Whitaker and Chloe Bennett thought they could scare her into silence. They didn't know the fire they'd ignited. In her purse, the burner phone from Malik Jones buzzed faintly, a reminder of the war she'd entered. A war for truth, for Nia, for herself. At Sisters Rising, the church's non-profit office, Lena sat with a circle of women, their faces etched with resilience and pain. Tasha, the single mother she'd helped, clutched the court order, her eyes bright with gratitude. You gave me my life back, Tasha said, squeezing Lena's hand. Lena smiled, but her mind churned. Chloe's threat in James's office, the Nia 2009 folder, the mafia's shadow. She taught the group how to navigate divorce filings. Her voice steady, each word, a brick in her growing empire. You're not alone, she told them, meaning it. We rise together. Her phone vibrated. A message from Malik on the burner. Meet me, Warehouse District, 900 p.m. Got something big. Lena's pulse quickened. Malik's files had already exposed James's offshore accounts. What now? She replied, I'm there. And tucked the phone away. Her resolve ironclad. James's latest jab, calling her irrelevant at breakfast, only fueled her. He hadn't noticed her late nights, her absence at his beck and call off good, let him underestimate her. That afternoon, Lena faced a new blow. At the bank, her manager called her in, his face grim. Lena, we're letting you go. Complaints about reliability. She knew the source. Chloe, the red-lipped lawyer, had stormed in days ago, whispering to executives, air lies spreading like poison. Lena's colleagues avoided her eyes, whispers of troublemaker trailing her out. She left with her head high, but the loss stung. James and Chloe were tightening the noose, stripping her of stability. Yet in her car, she laughed, a sharp, defiant sound. They thought this would break her. They were wrong. At dusk, Lena drove to the warehouse district, Atlanta's underbelly, where streetlights flickered and trap beats thudded from distant clubs. She parked near a rusted gate, her burner phone guiding her to Malik. He emerged from the shadows, his leather jacket torn, a fresh bruise on his cheek. Jesus, Malik, she whispered, stepping closer. What happened? They jumped me, he said, voice rough. Mister, these guys found out. I'm sniffing around. He handed her a manila envelope, his edge crumpled. Bank records, wire transfers. James is laundering millions through his towers. But there's more. Nia's crash wasn't random. A witness saw a second car. Never reported. James paid to bury it. Lena's blood ran cold. The folder from his office flashing in her mind. Nia, her sister, was murdered to protect his deals. We need to move fast, Malik said, glancing over his shoulder. They're watching us, both. As if on cue, footsteps crunched in the dark. Lena's heart leapt. Go, Malik hissed, pushing her toward a side alley. She clutched the envelope, sprinting, as two figures in hoods emerged, their silhouettes menacing. Malik drew them off, shouting, "Over here!" A scuffle echoed. Grunts, a thud, then silence. Lena crouched behind a dumpster, her breath ragged. The city's pulse, a roar in her ears. She waited, trembling, until the coast cleared, then ran to her car, the envelope, a lifeline. Malik had risked everything. She couldn't falter. Driving home, she spotted no tail. But paranoia clung like damp air. In the attic, she opened the envelope. Her laptop, glowing, wire transfers linked James to V, a mafia kingpin. A grainy photo showed a car matching Nia's crash description. A license plate tied to James's old firm. Her hands shook, rage and grief colliding. You took her, she whispered, tears falling. I'll make you pay. Lena logged into Carter Justice Solutions, her alias El Justice. Now a beacon for women seeking help. A new client, a battered wife, facing a rich ex, had sent a desperate plea. Lena typed a response, her fingers flying, her mission clear. She wasn't just fighting James, she was building a legacy. The site's inbox swelled. Dozens of women, their stories mirroring hers. She answered, each, her heart swelling. This was her power, her rebellion. A noise downstairs jolted her. James's voice, slurred from whiskey, called out, Lena, where's my damn dinner? She closed the laptop, her face, a mask, descending. She saw him sprawled on the couch, Chloe's perfume lingering on his jacket. Lost your job. Who? He sneered. Told you, you're nothing without me. Lena smiled, a dangerous glint in her eyes. Keep talking. James, she said, her voice silk. He blinked unsettled, but she turned away, her heart a furnace. In the attic, she hid the envelope with Malik's files. Her burner phone, silent. Was he okay? She texted, you safe? No reply. Outside, Atlanta's skyline shimmered, a city of secrets and survivors. Lena stood, her black girl magic tee, a Kia de Fiance. The gospel hymns from Hope Baptist echoed in her mind, a call to battle. James and Chloe thought they'd trapped her, but they'd only sharpened her blade. She was no longer his shadow. She was the storm, and it was coming. Lena Carter sat on a cold metal bench in Fulton County Jail, the clang of cell doors echoing like a death knell. Her orange jumpsuit scratched her skin, but her eyes blazed with defiance. Unbowed by the bars caging her, James Whittaker and Chloe Bennett had struck hard, framing her for the murder of Richard Hayes, a real estate investor whose supposed death was splashed across Atlanta's tabloids. The evidence? A knife with her fingerprints planted in her car had landed her here, branded a Black Widow by screaming headlines. But Lena wasn't broken. The memory of Nia's letter, James isn't trustworthy, and Malik's crumpled envelope of mafia secrets burned in her mind, fueling her fight. She was a storm, and no cell could contain her. The jail's fluorescent lights buzzed, casting harsh shadows on the women around her, mothers, sisters, survivors, their faces etched with stories like hers. Lena leaned against the wall, clutching a scrap of paper where she'd scribbled a plan. Malik was out there hunting for Hayes, who he believed was alive, hidden by Chloe's mafia allies. Her burner, the phone was gone, confiscated, but she'd memorized his last message. Hayes is the key. Stay strong. She would, for Nia, for every woman she'd sworn to protect. Carter, a guard, barked, slamming his baton on the bars. Visitor. Lena stood, smoothing her jumpsuit, and followed him to a stark room where Chloe waited, her red lipstick a slash of venom. She sat primely, a folder in hand, her eyes glinting with triumph. Look at you, Chloe purred, leaning forward, all that fire snuffed out. Where's your justice? Now, Lena sat, her gaze still. You're wasting your breath, she said, voice low. I know Hayes is alive, and I know what you and James did to Nia. Chloe's smile faltered. It's a crack in her armor, but she recovered. Sliding the folder across, sign this. Drop the divorce. Confess to the murder, and maybe you'll see daylight again. Lena glanced at the papers. Forged confessions. A trap to bury her forever. She pushed them back, her lips curving into a dangerous smile. You're scared. Chloe. You should be. Chloe's eyes flashed, but she stood, tossing her hair. You're nothing but a dead woman. Walking, she hissed and stormed out. Lena's heart raced, but her resolve held. Chloe's fear was a tell. She knew Lena was close to the truth. Back in the cell block, Lena gathered the women, to her voice steady, as she taught them basic legal rights. They can't take your voice, she told them, her words igniting sparks in their eyes. A young woman, she whispered. You're like a preacher. Lena, she laughed softly, humming a gospel tune from Hope Baptist. Its melody, a lifeline. In her cell, Lena scribbled on toilet paper, outlining a defense. Tanya, her law school friend, was her only link to the outside. She'd smuggled a note to Tanya during a court transfer, begging her to find Malik and submit evidence of Hayes' survival. Lena's thoughts drifted to Nia's letter, hidden in her penthouse before her arrest. If something happens to me, find James. The words haunted her, a puzzle she was desperate to solve. Had James orchestrated Nia's crash to silence a deal gone wrong? The thought was a knife, but it sharpened her focus. Across town, Malik limped through a Miami dive bar, his bruise from the warehouse attack throbbing. He'd tracked a lead on Hayes, dodging mafia tails with a fake ID. His burner buzzed. Tanya's coded message. Lena's holding up. Need Hayes now. Malik scanned the smoky room, spotting a man in a baseball cap, his face matching the grainy photo from Atlanta. Richard Hayes, alive, sipping a beer. Malik approached, voice low. We need to talk about Whittaker. Hayes' eyes widened, but he nodded, fear etching his face. They'll kill me, he whispered. Malik slid him a photo of Lena in cuffs. They're killing her already. Help us. Back in jail. Lena faced a new threat. A guard, bribed by Chloe's allies, slipped a note under her tray. Confess or you won't wake up. She tore it up, her jaw tight. That night, she led the women in a quiet hymn, their voices rising like a shield. She, emboldened, staged a distraction, spilling food to draw the guards, giving Lena time to pass another note to Tanya. During a visit, tell Malik Miami Hayes, hurry, she whispered. Tanya nodded, her eyes fierce. We're with you. Lena, days blurred, the jail's walls closing in, but Lena's spirit soared. She taught she how to draft emotion. Her lessons a rebellion against despair, a television in the Publix. Common room blared Chloe's latest interview, painting Lena as a jealous killer. The women booed, rallying around. Her, they're lying. Miss Lena, she said, fist raised. Lena smiled. Of her, heart swelling. She was building a sisterhood even here. Her chance came when Tanya filed a motion with Malik's evidence. A photo of Hayes alive. Dime Stumpet. The judge granted bail, and Lena stepped into Atlanta's sunlight. The city's trap beats a welcome pulse. Malik waited in a beat-up sedan, his face battered but grinning. God Hayes, he said, tossing her a new burner. He's ready to talk. Lena clutched the phone, her eyes blazing. James and Chloe thought they'd caged her, but she was free, and the storm was hers to command. Lena Carter stood at the threshold of the Fulton County courtroom, her black vest, a quiet armor against the storm within. The air crackled with tension. Reporters, pen scratching, spectators, whispering, their eyes darting between her and James Whitaker, who lounged across the aisle, his smug grin a taunt, released from jail. Mere days ago, Lena carried the weight of her false murder charge, the sting of Chloe Bennett's threats, and the truth about Nia's death, a truth she'd veiled like a blade today. Her burner phone tucked away held Malik's last message. Hayes is here. And this. She would, the gospel hymns of Hope Baptist echoed in her soul, urging her forward. She was no longer prey. She was justice incarnate. James adjusted his tie, his sunglasses perched arrogantly. Chloe at his side in a tailored suit, her red lipstick, a defiant slash. She's got nothing. James muttered loud enough for Lena to hear. This ends today. Chloe's eyes flicked to Lena, a flicker of unease, betraying her poise. Lena met her gaze unflinching, her silence a weapon. Tanya, her law school friend turned attorney, squeezed her hand. We've got this, Tanya whispered, her briefcase bulging with evidence, Malik's files, Hayes' testimony, and a secret Lena had guarded until now. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair, banged her gavel. We proceed with the divorce of Lena Carter and James Whitaker. She eyed, her voice cutting through the buzz. James' lawyer, a slick man in pinstripes, rose, painting Lena as a desperate opportunist, a failed banker, grasping for his wealth. Lena's jaw tightened, but she stayed composed, her eyes on the judge. Tanya stood, her presence commanding. Your Honor, we have evidence that redefines this case and Mr. Whitaker's character. Tanya slid a folder across the bench. Its contents: a bombshell, bank records from Malik's envelope detailing James's offshore accounts and mafia-linked wire transfers. Gasps rippled through the courtroom as Tanya continued, her voice steady. Mr. Whitaker laundered millions through his real estate empire, tied to a criminal known as Mr. V. My client, Miss Carter, uncovered this at great personal risk. James' grin faltered, his fingers twitching. Chloe shifted to her composure, cracking. But Tanya wasn't done. She called Richard Hayes to the stand. The investor, James, and Chloe had framed Lena for murdering Hayes, pale and sweating, shuffled in his testimony. A wrecking ball. I was paid to disappear, he stammered, avoiding James. Glare. Miss Bennett arranged it, said it at Barry Lena Carter. The courtroom erupted. Reporters scribbling furiously. Chloe's face drained of color, her hands gripping the table. James hissed, "You idiot." But Hayes kept talking, detailing payments traced to James' accounts. Lena's heart pounded, but her face remained serene. Tanya turned to the judge. Miss Carter also built a legal consultancy, Carter Justice Solutions, under the alias L. Justice. It's valued at $25 million, independent of Mr. Whitaker's assets. A murmur swept the room. Shock, admiration, disbelief. James ripped off his sunglasses, his eyes wide. L. Justice, he choked out, his voice a mix of rage and awe. That's you. Lena stood, her voice clear, cutting through the chaos. Always was. James, you just never asked. The words landed like a gavel, silencing him. She turned to the judge, her gaze unwavering. I don't want his money. I want justice for me and for my sister. Lena Carter, Tanya, played a grainy audio recorded a decade ago, dug up from Nia's old phone by Malik's contacts. James's voice crackled through. The girl saw too much. The crash will look clean. Lena's eyes burned with tears, but her spine stayed straight. Nia, her sister, was killed to hide James's dirty deal. The courtroom froze. A collective breath held. The judge's face hardened. Mr. For Whitaker, this warrants immediate investigation, she declared, nodding to the bailiff. Arrest him. James lunged to his feet, shouting, "This is a setup." But two officers cuffed him, his sunglasses clattering to the floor. Chloe bolted for the door, her heels slipping. But deputies blocked her, her scream echoing as they restrained her. "You can't prove anything," she spat. But her eyes betrayed Panit. Mr. V's wrath awaited her failure. Reporters swamped, cameras flashing, capturing James's fall and Chloe's unraveling. Lena remained still, her heart a furnace of grief and triumph. Tanya presented the final blow, evidence of James's attempt to frame Lena for Hayes' murder, orchestrated with Chloe's mafia ties. The judge granted the divorce, awarding Lena her fair share of the marital assets James had hidden. But Lena's victory was deeper. She'd exposed the monster, avenged Nia, and stood tall as L. Justice, a name now whispered in awe. As the gavel fell, Lena stepped into the courthouse hall, Atlanta sunlight streaming through high windows. Women from Sisters Rising waited outside, Tasha among them. Their cheers a gospel chorus of their own. "You did it, Lena," Tasha cried, hugging her. Malik emerged, battered but grinning. Hayes' testimony, his heart won prize. "I told you we'd end this," he said, tossing her a new burner phone. Lena smiled, her eyes glistening. "For Nia," she said, her voice soft but fierce. The city's trapped beats pulsed faintly beyond the courthouse, a rhythm of survival. Lena glanced back at the chaos. James in cuffs, Chloe's empire crumbling, and felt a weight lift. She'd faced their lies, their traps, and emerged a beacon. Carter Justice Solutions was no longer a secret. It was a legacy. She walked forward, the women's cheers, her shield, knowing the storm she'd unleashed was just the beginning. Lena Carter stood in the sleek office of Carter Justice Solutions, her reflection sharp in the Midtown Atlanta skyline beyond the glass. The courtroom victory should have felt like triumph, but it didn't. Whitaker was cuffed. Chloe Bennett was unraveling, and Nia's truth was finally laid bare. Still, The ache of her sister's loss pressed against Lena Carter's ribs like a bruise that would never fade. Her tailored vest, embroidered with African-inspired patterns, felt like a crown. Yet her heart raced with new purpose. The world knew her now as El Justice, a beacon for the voiceless. But the mafia's shadow loomed, Mr. V's unseen hand stretching toward her. The burner phone buzzed. Malik's message was blunt. V's guys are circling. Stay sharp. Lena clenched her jaw. She had toppled James Whittaker. She would face whatever storm came next. Around here, the office, pulsed with life-young black lawyers from Atlanta's HBCUs typing furiously at desks adorned with Sankofa art. Carter Justice Solutions was no longer a secret. Its unveiling had sparked a firestorm. Emails flooded her inbox. Women, from Montgomery to Manhattan, pleading for help against abusive exes, crooked landlords, unjust systems. Lena answered each with steady fingers. This wasn't just work. It was a movement. Then came the envelope, unmarked. Inside, one note. You can't hide. El Justice. Pay for Whittaker. Or bleed. She burned it without flinching. But fear gnawed at her edges. Nia's voice echoed in memory. James isn't trustworthy. Malik's call only deepened her resolve. His voice was ragged from a safe house. V's crew hit my apartment. He said, I'm laying low, but you are their target now. You? Okay, she asked. He chuckled. Rough, but warm. Tougher than they think. Got a lead on V's second in command. Keep building. Lena, you're bigger than their threats. For Nia, she whispered, after the line went dead. That night, she poured her fire into the community. At Piedmont Park, Atlanta's skyline glittering, she hosted a fundraiser for Sisters Rising. The stage pulsed with hip-hop. Thousands gathered families, activists, survivors. Tasha, once trapped in abuse, stood free beside her daughter, waving a glow stick. You changed us, Tasha said, hugging her. Lena's throat tightened. When she took the mic, her black girl magic tea glowing, her voice cut sharp. This is for every woman told she's nothing. For my sister Nia, we rise, we fight, we shine. The crowd roared. Then Lena rapped a verse she had written in an attic, raw and unshaken. From shadows to the throne, I claim my name. They tried to break my soul, but I'm the flame. The beat dropped. Lil Baby's producer looped her words into a viral anthem. Social media exploded. She had turned pain into fire. Backstage, Mrs. Ruth from Hope Baptist pinned a Sankofa brooch to her vest. You're God's warrior. Child, keep climbing. Moments later, security found a bomb under the stage. Disarmed, but real. Mr. V was closing in. At the office, Tanya met her with news. A UN invitation. Geneva, Women's Rights Summit. You're global now. Tanya grinned. They're calling you the Justice Queen. But Molly was silent. No text. No calls. Her chest ached with worry. She whispered to Nia's photo, I'm doing this for you. James's bitter voice still haunted her from a jailhouse call. Drop the charges. You'll regret this. She had hung up, unmoved. Chloe's taunting letters met the same fate, torn and burned. They were shadows. She was the light. Weeks later, Lena stood on the Geneva stage. A gown of kente-inspired fabric shimmered beneath the lights, a tribute to her roots. Behind her were the courtroom victory over Whittaker, the mafia's crumbling grip, Nia's truth. Before her stood the world. That morning, Malik's voice had crackled through the burner phone at last. V's crew is done. Feds raided them. You're clear. Relief had washed over her. Now, the hall hushed as she spoke. I was told. I was nothing, a shadow, a wife who didn't matter. But I am here, Lena Carter El Justice, to tell you every woman is a flame, and no one can dim our light. The crowd rose to its feet, thunderous. She announced the Lena Carter Fund, scholarships for black women in law, seeded by Carter Justice Solutions. This is for my sister. And for every woman told her dreams don't matter. Applause shook the rafters. Malik filmed from the wings, pride in his eyes. Back in Atlanta, James watched her speech on a grainy prison television. His world was ash. His muttered curses rang hollow. Chloe's name had already faded. Mr. V's empire lay in ruins. Lena returned home to a skyline that glowed like an old friend. Carter Justice Solutions was expanding New York, London, Nairobi. The Lena Carter Fund had already lifted its first scholars. Their thank you letters filled her inbox, sparks of her sister's legacy. She leaned against a midtown rooftop rail, Nipsey Hussle in her earbuds, the Sankofa brooch at her heart. Malik's documentary trailer pinged her phone. "You're the story." "Lena," he'd said. She replied, "We're the story." The breeze carried gospel from a nearby church. She pulled out Nia's photo, whispering, "I did it. Nia, I'm free." Her laptop glowed with messages from Harlem, Kenya, Brazil, women thanking El Justice for hope. She typed back, "Steady, you are the flame. Burn bright." Atlanta's skyline shimmered, a canvas of struggle and triumph. Lena Carter was no longer a shadow. She was fire, a legacy, an unbreakable woman, and her light would shine forever. The courtroom victory should have felt like triumph, but Lena Carter could not escape the weight pressing against her chest. James Whitaker was cuffed. Chloe Bennett was unraveling. Nia's truth was finally laid bare. Yet grief lingered like a bruise that refused to fade. Her tailored vest, embroidered with African-inspired patterns, clung to her shoulders like armor. Tonight, it felt like a crown. The world knew her now as El Justice, a beacon for the voiceless, but Mr. V's shadow still loomed, his hand reaching unseen. The burner phone buzzed. Malik's message was sharp. "V's guys are circling. Stay sharp." Lena clenched her jaw. She had toppled Whitaker. She would face whatever came next. Around her, the office pulsed with energy. Young black lawyers from Atlanta's HBCUs typing furiously, their desks alive with Sankofa art. Carter Justice Solutions was no longer a secret. Its unveiling had sparked a firestorm. Emails poured in. Women from Montgomery to Manhattan pleaded for help against abusive exes, crooked landlords, unjust systems. Lena answered each one, steady hands on the keys. This wasn't a business. It was a movement. Then came the envelope, unmarked. Inside, one note: "You can't hide. El Justice. Pay for Whitaker or bleed." She burned it, her eyes fierce, though fear gnawed at her edges. She thought of Nia's warning. James isn't trustworthy. Later that night, Malik called from a safe house, his voice ragged. "V's crew hit my apartment. They're desperate. Since Hayes talked, I'm laying low. But you are their target now." "You okay?" she asked, tougher than they think. He coughed, then chuckled. "Got a lead on V's second in command. Keep building. Lena, you're bigger than their threats." "For Nia," she whispered. When the call ended, that evening, Lena poured her fire into community. At Piedmont Park, under Atlanta's glittering skyline, she hosted a fundraiser for Sisters Rising. Thousands gathered, families, activists, survivors. The stage pulsed with hip-hop. Tasha, free at last, from her abuser, hugged her tightly. "You changed us." When Lena took the mic, her black girl magic tee caught the stage lights. Her voice cut the night. "This is for every woman told she was nothing. For my sister Nia, we rise. We fight. We shine." The crowd roared. Then she dropped the verse she had written in an attic, raw and defiant. "From shadows to the throne. I claim my name. They try to break my soul, but I'm the flame." The beat dropped. Lil Baby's producer looped her words into a viral anthem. Social media lit up. She had turned pain into fire. Backstage, Mrs. Ruth from Hope Baptist embraced her. "You're God's warrior, child," she said, pinning a Sankofa brooch to Lena's vest. Minutes later, security found a bomb under the stage. Disarmed, but real. Mr. V's threat was closing in. Back at the office, Tanya greeted her with brighter news. A UN invitation. Geneva Women's Rights Summit. You're global now, Tanya grinned. They're calling you the Justice Queen. But Malik was silent. No texts, no calls. Her heart ached with worry. She whispered to Nia's photo. I'm doing this for you. James's voice still haunted her from a jailhouse call. Drop the charges. You'll regret this. She had hung up, unmoved. Chloe's taunting letters met the same fate, torn and burned. They were shadows. She was the light. Weeks later, Lena stood on a Geneva stage, a gown of Kente-inspired fabric shimmering in the lights. Behind her were the courtroom victory, the mafia's collapse, Naya's truth. Before her stood the world. That morning, Malik had finally called. V's crew is done. Feds raided them. You're clear. Relief had washed over her. Now, the hall hushed as she spoke. I was told I was nothing. A shadow. A wife who didn't matter. But I am here. Lena Carter El Justice. To tell you, every woman is a flame. And no one can dim our light. The crowd rose to its feet. Thunderous. She announced the Lena Carter Fund. Scholarships for Black women in law. Seeded by Carter Justice Solutions. This is for my sister. And for every woman told her, dreams don't matter. Applause shook the rafters. Malik filmed from the wings, his grin wide with pride. Back in Atlanta, James watched from a prison cell, his empire, his freedom, his name gone. His muttered curses rang hollow. Chloe's threats faded to ash. Mr. V's empire lay in ruins. Lena returned to Atlanta's skyline. Nipsey Hussle's victory lap thudding in her earbuds. The Sankofa brooch gleamed on her jacket. Carter Justice Solutions was expanding to New York, London, Nairobi. The Lena Carter Fund had already lifted its first scholars. Their letters filled her inbox. Sparks of her sister's legacy. She thought of Tasha thriving, of Shay now in law school, of the women at Hope Baptist, who had lifted her with gospel hymns. Their stories were her fuel. One night, Malik sent her the trailer for his documentary. Her rap pulsed as its heart beat. You're the story. Lena, he said. She texted back, smiling. We're the story. On a rooftop, Lena held Nia's photo. The city glowed below. I did it. Nia, I'm free. Her laptop pinged with messages from Harlem, Kenya, Brazil. Thank you for giving us hope. She typed her reply steady. You are the flame. Burn bright. The skyline shimmered. A canvas of struggle and triumph. Lena Carter was no longer a shadow. She was fire, a legacy, an unbreakable woman, and her light would shine forever.